Did you know that 7 out of 10 Americans who have medical bills say that they have to lower their spending on food in order to avoid a medical bankruptcy? Navigating our highly complex world of healthcare and health benefits leaves many people feeling like a snowball in, well, you know where. I'm Josh Butler, healthcare consultant and advisor to more than 150 employers around the country, and this is A Snowball's Chance in Healthcare, a show about restoring hope in healthcare. Join us as we discuss ways you can lower your healthcare and benefits costs, how companies are winning the healthcare and benefits battle, and how hope is being restored to this community and communities across the country.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode or another edition of A Snowball's Chance in Healthcare. I'm Josh Butler, your host, and I'm also the president of Butler Benefits and Consulting. We are a consulting and brokerage firm located in Amarillo, Texas, and each and every week we're discussing a topic or we're having a guest, and we're trying to give you the best, most valuable tips in healthcare to lower your cost, improve your benefit plan designs or the quality. And I don't do this very often, but I wanted to take a minute here at the top of the show this week to just remind everybody, if you're not already connected to me or connected to our organization, Butler Benefits, on LinkedIn or Facebook, I hope you'll take a minute to reach out to me to connect. We share lots of information in our social media platforms and on our website. I've got a blog, butler-benefits.com is our website. We're very active on our social media channels, and if we haven't already connected, I hope you'll check us out through our social channels. Get over there and give me a connection request. I'd love to connect with you. I don't talk much about that, about our social channels, but we're pretty active over there. And so, it is Thanksgiving week has come and gone, ladies and gentlemen. It is hard to believe that it is already December, almost already December. And this year has just flown by. Every year it just seems like it just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And I hope everybody out there had a great Turkey Day. I know that I did. Got to spend some good time with my family. I hope you had some time to spend some good quality time with your family and spend some time reflecting on the things that we're most thankful for. I know we've got so much to be thankful for. And, I just love this time of year, the fall, and there's lots going on. It's very busy at work. We've got the holidays coming up, and there's just lots going on. Football season is in full swing, and and everything is just, I love this time of year. And I'll tell you what also is going on is annual open enrollment, whether you're 65 and older and you're in your open enrollment period for Medicare or an individual product, they all renew January 1st. And the vast majority of companies renew their health benefits every year around December and January. And we talk a lot about that here on the program. And, most companies out there are just going through the motions. They get their renewal, they talk to their broker, they get a handful of the same old quotes that they get every single year. They pick a plan that they think is, the best plan to choose, or maybe that's what their broker says, that they should choose. And they're done for another year. It's what we call set it and forget it, and or hope and quote, or quote and hope, as some may say in our industry, and they're just setting their renewal for another year. And it's crazy to me that so many companies are just analyzing and doing this exercise once a year. And don't get me wrong, I understand. I mean, like I said, a lot of companies would rather, I think I used the analogy once, wrestle a tiger in a phone booth than conduct annual open enrollment every year. It's not something that most organizations look forward to. But I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, hope is never a strategy. Just picking a health plan and crossing your fingers and hope that next year, that you just get lucky and that you have a good claims year and that you're not saddled with yet another annual increase the following year. And hope isn't a strategy. And I can just tell you, in other units, in other factors and sectors of their business, hope isn't a strategy. They don't deploy hope as a strategy. Companies don't just hope that, for instance, that they sell more inventory the upcoming year. They plan on selling more inventory the upcoming year. They start with assessing and analyzing how much they sold this prior year. They evaluate which markets that they perform best in. They analyze which markets they perform the worst in. They study demographics and study who is buying their products and their services. Is it 30-year-old white men? Is it 55-year-old Hispanic women? I mean, companies are getting into the details and the data of their sales, and they use this data. They use this information to make decisions and to develop strategies. You know, a lot of organizations that have salespeople, the salespeople have to turn in sales goals or sales projections and how they're going to get there. A company may put a quota on a salesperson and say for 2023 you have to make X number of sales or X number of dollars in sales. They plan, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody knows this. This is just basic business. Well, just like in sales, okay, employee benefits is another business unit, just like your sales is a business unit, right? And that business unit, your healthcare spend requires the same level of scrutiny, the same level of analyses, the same level of comparison and evaluation, right? Yet too many employers are simply, doing the same old song and dance, and they're just re-upping their health plans year over year over year, what we call the rubber stamp, just renew. And oftentimes that's coming at the recommendation and advice of their brokers. And I think that this happens because while you may know how to assess and analyze your sales numbers, I think a lot of employers simply don't know how to assess and analyze their health plans and their benefit strategies. So today we're going to do that. We're going to talk about that very thing, about assessing, analyzing, and actually grading, ladies and gentlemen, your health plans. And I think that just out of human curiosity, we're always, curious to see how we stack up against others, maybe another competitor in our industry, maybe a friend, maybe one of your friends owns a company. We're just competitive by nature, and we like to see how we stack up. And what's always kind of surprised me is that very few companies ever ask me, how good is my health plan? How good is it? Or how valuable is my health plan to my employees? Those are two fundamental questions, and they're great questions that employers very, very seldom ask. Is how valuable are the benefits that I offer my employees? How valuable are they to the employee, not to the employer? We're going to talk about from the employee's perspective these basic questions. How valuable are these health plans? And you guys listen to the program. You know that I like to tell stories and I like to use analogies. Well, let me start today with this analogy. Just imagine for a second that you're a coach in the National Football League, right? We're about midway through the season right now, and or a team owner. Let's say you own a team or you're a coach of an NFL football team. Well, coaches and owners are constantly evaluating their team. That's not just something they do in the off season. It's not something they do during the NFL draft. I mean, these guys, it's a full year, 365-day-a-year job, and they're constantly evaluating their team and how good they are, right? And they do this position by position, formation by formation, just play by play even. They're analyzing all the time just how good their team actually is. And so they're also comparing their teams to other teams in the league, the best teams in the league, okay? They're not, or at least in their division. If they're not comparing their teams to teams in other divisions, they're at least looking at how do we stack up against other teams in our divisions. Well, what I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is there's not a single coach in the NFL that is comparing their teams right now to the Atlanta Falcons, okay? Now, no offense to you guys that are Atlanta Falcons fans out there, but let's just face the reality. Right now, the Atlanta Falcons have a 5-7 record. They're not great, but they're not the worst team in the NFL either. They're just average. They're 5-7, right? Now, if you were an NFL coach, imagine for 1 second that you came out after losing a game and you went 5-7, and you came out and gave your post-game press conference and you said something like this: hey, you know what, guys? We're happy being 5-7. We're average, and that's good enough for us. We're happy with that. How long do you think you're going to have a job in the NFL? Right? I mean, imagine if Jerry Jones came out one day and gave a press conference and he said, ladies and gentlemen, it's okay if we miss the playoffs. and go 8-8 every single year. I mean, there's a lot of teams who don't win 8 games, and we're happy with being average. Who says that? No coach says that. Nobody in that industry ever says that, in this highly competitive industry where there's so much pressure to perform and to win, and the stakes are high and there's millions and millions of dollars trading hand. Nobody's content with average, right? It's so competitive. And these coaches and these owners and these teams are expected. There's a high expectation to perform at the very highest level. And if employers had that level of expectation in the way their health plans perform, then their plans would absolutely, unequivocally, with no doubt, no question, their plans would perform better. And those plans would save money. But the expectations, like I said at the top, are so low in this industry. Well, we got another 10% increase. 10% is the new normal. That's your average. Well, Joe Smith owns a company across town, and they've got a $5,000 deductible on their health plan, so I guess it's okay for me to have a $5,000 deductible on my health plan. My competitors in my industry, they're charging, their employees $100 a paycheck. Well, I guess I can charge $100 a paycheck. Everybody's benchmarking and comparing themselves to the Atlanta Falcons, to the average, okay? And year after year, this is what leads employers to just accept these annual increases year over year over year, and diminishing value in their benefit plans year over year over year. And maybe they don't even realize that's happening, but that's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why grading your health plan, benchmarking your health plan, it's why it's so essential. You have to understand where your current plans stack up, not just against average plans in the industry, but against the best performing health plans in the country. And there's a lot of plans out there that perform extremely well. And they're not a fluke, ladies and gentlemen. This is the efforts of very calculated strategies that employers develop over years to keep their premiums down, to keep their benefits rich. And we're going to talk about some of that stuff today. It's not just, they're not comparing themselves to the Atlanta Falcons. They're comparing themselves to the premier teams in the NFL, to the Philadelphia Eagles this year. They've only got one loss. So if you're comparing your health plan to another employer that has the exact same kind of health plan that you offer, well, you're just comparing yourself to the average. And who wants to be average? If you're going to be something, why not have a great benefit package, right? So I want to share some insight into some resources that we use at Butler Benefits to evaluate the value of a health plan, and from a value perspective, how much value is there to your employees in your health plan. And we use a couple of different resources at our firm that show employers just that, just how valuable their plan offerings are and how they measure up against the highest performing health plans in the country. The first tool that we use that I want to talk about today is called it's a calculator that was developed by CMS, the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid, and it's called the AV calculator, or the Actuarial Value Calculator. And some of this is kind of getting into the weeds, but the AV calculator utilizes the metal tiering methodology for results, and this is how the ACA plans coin the descriptions: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, et cetera, et cetera. So each plan has a different actuarial value to the member that it covers. And the inputs for AV calculation on information is utilization, cost sharing, total cost of healthcare expenditures, premium. A lot of factors go into calculating the actuarial value of a health plan. And so obviously a bronze level plan has a lower actuarial value than a gold plan, okay? But a gold plan costs more, typically costs more than a bronze level plan. But there's additional factors that go into assigning a plan's actuarial value, things such as employer contributions. How much is the employer contributing to the premium? And the more an employer contributes to an employee's premium, the more valuable that plan becomes for the employee, right? This is common sense. And likewise, if the employer offers, say things like a health savings account as an option, and the employer is making HSA contributions for the employee, that also improves the actuarial value of a plan. And it does so because it reduces the employee's out-of-pocket amounts. And the same goes for vehicles like health reimbursement arrangements, which we've talked about before on this program, HRAs. If an employer is reimbursing a portion of the deductible, right, then that increases the actuarial value. So you know, for purposes of the Affordable Care Act, a bronze level plan they have co-insurance overall of 60%, meaning that the plan itself or the insurance company pays 60% of medical expenses, and the plan member can expect around 40% of out-of-pocket costs related with that health plan. A silver plan is designed to cover about 70% of total medical costs for that person. A gold plan is designed to cover 80%, and a platinum plan is designed to cover 90%. So, of course, like I said, the more the plan covers, the richer it gets in an actuarial value, the more expensive that policy gets too. So you always got to factor back in the premium. So again, in this AV calculator, bronze plans carry an actuarial value between 60 and 70%, silver plans between 70 and 80%, gold plans between 80 and 90%, and platinum plans have an actuarial value that exceed 90%. And so just keep that in mind as we go throughout here. But we input plan design, so the AV calculator allows us to plug in the plan designs. What's the deductible? What are the copays? What is the co-insurance? What's the out-of-pocket maximum? What are the employer contributions? You put in all of these different types of criteria into the AV calculator, and what it does is it returns an actuarial score on the plan. Okay, so you can get a real assessment of just how valuable. Very, very few plans score above 90%. Most employers offer at least one plan option that's a bronze level on an AV calculator score, and that's an actuarial value between 60 and 70%. So these aren't very rich plans, right? They're just not very rich plans. But this AV calculator is an extremely valuable tool that shows the employer, from an employee's perspective, just how valuable their plan offering is. And don't forget about this. It also takes into account, you know, strategies like HSA and HRA contributions. And so here's an example. We've deployed before as a strategy a bronze level high deductible health plan, but we've offset those high deductibles with things like HRA reimbursements or health reimbursement accounts. So say an employer goes to a $5,000 deductible and the employer agrees to pay $3,000 of that $5,000 deductible for the employee. Well, that's going to dramatically impact the actuarial value. It actually takes a bronze level plan and enriches it to the point where you actually have an actuarial value score of above 70%. That makes it a solid silver plan, even though you're utilizing a bronze level plan. So this tool gives employers insights into how valuable your actual strategies are, not just your plan. The plan itself is a bronze level plan, but when you incorporate an HRA strategy in conjunction with the bronze level high deductible health plan, then overall the actuarial value is dramatically increased because of the strategy, not because of the plan. So the AV calculator, if your broker's not using AV calculations to show you how valuable your plans are, you should ask your broker about that. You should ask them to answer that question. How valuable is my plan? It's a really good tool, the AV calculator, for fully insured plans that are, because more and more employers these days are starting to use these gap plan strategies. We talked about that last week. They're using HRAs, they're using HSA strategies. And so AV calculator, you can find it on the CMS website at cms.gov, or you can just Google CMS AV calculator, and you can see that it's an Excel spreadsheet, and you can put in all different factors to get an actuarial score on your plan. Now, for self-funded employers, I want to talk a little bit about a tool that we used. It was a tool that was developed by Health Rosetta. So as you guys know, we're a participating consulting firm with the Health Rosetta. Very proud of that. But the Health Rosetta has had a tool under development for several years called the Plan Grader. There's a link to it on my website. It asks the basic questions to get started. If you want to get a deeper analysis of how good your self-funded health plan is, then we use a tool called Plan Grader. Like I said, Health Rosetta has spent several years developing and polishing this tool, and they just rolled it out to the entire Rosetta ecosystem this past year. So in Rosetta's Plan Grader, it benchmarks self-funded plans against the highest performing health plans in the country. I'm talking about plans that are commonly reducing healthcare costs anywhere from 20 to 40%. Things like High Plains Health Plan, a plan that we've developed. Just a shameless plug real quick. High Plains Health Plan, the plan that we've developed that eliminates deductibles and co-insurance and co-pays for hundreds and hundreds of different healthcare services. High Plains Health Plan has an actuarial value score of 92%, making it a platinum plan. So imagine for a minute, ladies and gentlemen, offering a platinum plan at 20 to 40% under the plans you're currently offering today. The Plan Grader starts with a Plan Grader sponsor profile, which is just basic information that we input into the system, like who are the decision makers at the organization? Do you have a committee that makes decisions, or do you have a single person? Does the organization have a 3 to 5 year plan strategy? How frequently are you communicating benefits to your employees as an employer? Questions like that. These are just basic questions that give us a good sense of what you're doing right now. You can't formulate a good strategy without first assessing where you are. Then the bulk of the Plan Grader, however, in the second phase, gets into what we call the infrastructure step. Now, the infrastructure step is a deep dive, so to speak. It is a series of about 26 questions that goes into detail with this employer organizations, and oftentimes employer organizations are completing the Plan Grader with their current broker because some of the questions get into detail, they get into some depth that maybe the HR manager or maybe the owner just doesn't know how to answer the question. So we do encourage organizations to complete Plan Graders with their current brokers because some of the questions can get pretty heavy. But it includes questions like, does your plan currently incentivize members to seek lower cost or higher quality health care? Does it? Or does it penalize members for not seeking high quality health care or low cost care? So believe it or not, there's some plans out there that actually penalize their members for knowingly going to a low quality provider or a very high cost provider. Now that's a concept, right? Penalizing people for going to low quality, high cost providers. It asks questions like, what type of digital tools do you give members to access? Like, GoodRx is a digital tool that comes to mind. Are you giving mobile apps? Do you have virtual tools? What types of digital tools are you using to educate and help your employees seek high quality, low cost care? Do you have any type of human support? Is there a call line? Is there a dedicated 1-800 number? Which vendors and administrators, do all of your vendors and administrators contractually agree to disclose all direct and indirect sources of compensation? We've talked about that one big time. So we've talked about this one. It's critical that you employers know if your TPAs and your PBMs, and yes, your brokers, it's important that they disclose all direct and indirect compensation. So all of these are factors, that go into this Plan Grader. And each time we do this for company, each time we go into one of these deep dives into this Plan Grader, this analyses, we discover meaningful opportunities to either reduce plan costs or improve benefit quality. But most times we're doing both simultaneously, okay? That's what the Plan Grader is all about. It's all about uncovering areas of opportunity that other successful employers have already discovered and addressed, okay? So some of you may recall, I'll give an example, that a couple of years ago I did this deep dive analysis. I used the city of Amarillo's data, their health plan data, which was publicly made available. It's publicly made available in their budget data, and so we can access this data anytime we want. But I took their data a couple years ago to illustrate the value of our Plan Grader. I did a rather deep analysis for the city of Amarillo, and through that analysis we uncovered $2 million of plan savings on half a dozen prescription drugs. That's $2 million on 6 drugs that were administered within their plan. And so that's what these analyses are for, these Plan Graders. It's about getting the data and the information to uncover these opportunities. And when you uncover the opportunity, then you can use that knowledge to implement a strategy. Now, the city didn't deploy. It's up to the employer to deploy strategies to go save that $2 million. Now, unfortunately, the city didn't do it, but those opportunities are still there today. And that's where I'm going to leave you with this week's, folks, is that I can give you the data, but it's up to you. It's up to employers to make decisions to implement these types of AV calculators and these types of tools and resources to evaluate your plans and grade your plans. If you're interested in a grade for your current health plan, you want to see how your plan stacks up to some of the highest performing health plans in the country, give me a call. 806-350-3158 is our number at Butler Benefits. And that's going to do it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you'll join us again next week as we work to give you strategies and tips and solutions to give you and your organization a snowball's chance in healthcare. Have a great weekend.